science advisor on Star Trek, but I'm really just here to moderate. So, without further ado, let's bring up class. So we have a microphone lined up places? Are there runners? How are the mics set up? We have something? Are we not?
It's very organized.
They're over there. Okay, excellent. Someone's waving. Fabulous. So if people want to line up, we'll do questions. Please be kind. Please be polite. I will start things off by asking all of you, because it's been a few years. You were the young kids on the block only a few years ago.
That's right.
Now you're the veterans. How's it feel? Any advice? Do you have any advice you'd like to pass along to future Star Trek shows, of which we have 5 now? All right, let's start with Saniqua. If you'd like to introduce yourself in case people don't know.
I'm Saniqua Martin.
How y'all doing? Look what I wrote for you guys. Can you see it? It says, "We love you."
Okay, this is a little bit better.
How your faces?
Advice, I mean, just, I think everybody who gets involved, thankfully, everybody who gets involved with these iterations in this beloved, amazing franchise know how important it is. That's the only thing that comes up to me right now, is just understanding how important it is. But everybody does. So.
I would advise them to be ready for Jonathan Frakes to sing at them.
Yeah. That's right. And also the way when he really loves the take, he goes, "Come right!" Like as one word. "Come right!" It's awesome.
Yes.
We're like, oh, you love that one.
How about you, Noah? You were new to
Yeah, don't get killed off super soon. That would help. I also wrote something on my card. It says, "I have to fart." I showed that to my wife. I hope you guys love that as much as I do. Yeah, so just, don't get killed, don't get blown up, and
sorry.
Also try and go to as many conventions as you can, because they're super fun.
Damn, it's all
I don't know, I feel like nothing could have prepared me for this experience, kind of. There's not really anything like it, so you kind of have to live it to know it and to understand it. Because I think I got a lot of advice from people who were luckily, around Jonathan Frakes a lot, who prepared us for a lot of what the future would hold. But this being part of this, this family, seeing people dressed up as you, it's like, nothing can prepare you for that. It's just incredible.
I like the prepare for Jonathan Frakes advice.
Yeah.
Let's advise on that. All right, we already have a line. Should we? Yeah. Let's do it. Let's start with the first question. I think we just have one line here. Go for it. Welcome.
What? Great question.
Describe your best and worst thing on set, please.
Describe the best and worst thing on set. Day. The thing is Anthony Rapp, obviously. Best and worst day on set. Oh my goodness.
That's tough. Probably don't want to relive the worst day.
Well, my best day was my first day of shooting, where I was lying on one of the Star Trek hospital beds, and I had my little Star Trek blanket. It was all shimmery, and I had my little Star Trek screen behind my head. I was so happy. And Saniqua and David were standing above me, and they were sort of whispering back and forth, and for a rehearsal. And I was looking up in my mask, and I was staring at them, smiling and nodding along as they talked. And they finished rehearsal, and I was sort of nodding at them. And then Saniqua sort of looked down at me, and I was like, hey, are you gonna do that the whole time? Aren't you supposed to be unconscious? And that was my worst moment where I thought, oh crap, I actually have to like act and do stuff. I can't just hang out here.
I did not say it like that.
Is that actually what you're gonna do? Okay.
It's just like, hey, Noah, do you, are you unconscious? I think you're unconscious. That's a good one, Noah. Yeah.
It was really intense and hard, but the scene I had with Sonequa where we were fighting, where she sent me up, and spoiler alert, in season 3, we had a big fight. That was probably the most fulfilling acting day. It was, when I first read it in the script, and I got to, Sonequa and I haven't had a lot of stuff. We've gotten the chance to do like one-on-one in the course of the show. We had like, in the early part of season 1, we had the dance scene that we had, and then we haven't had a lot since then. So which is really cool, and the fact that, again, we're going to drop his name again. Jonathan Frakes was the director of that scene, but I was so grateful that he was the director of that scene, because he creates such a safe space to play and do that stuff.
Safe
And then an amazing scene with Mary, where we also had a fight. not as intense, but it was the forgiveness scene between us. It was just a beautiful moment, and she's such an incredible actor. To get to play something so subtle and pure. Those are the kinds of things that I carry with me.
Yeah, that scene is so special because it's this moment, I don't know, you never get to see this stuff like, I don't know, on Star Trek or on television where somebody just apologizes to somebody else for doing something that really hurt them. And it's just like, that's our show. Because these are really important beats to us, that these people treat each other well and grow with each other. And we also care about each other so much that there's a really nice synergy there. I would say my worst day on set was when I was covered in goo and shoved into a coffin-sized cocoon. Yeah, that was a rough one.
I was there for that.
Very cold.
I was freezing. But I know you've also been buried alive a couple times in Iceland and stuff like that.
I'll say the worst, speaking of, because there were worser moments that had to do with personal tragedies in my life, but we won't go down that path right now because I don't want to burst out crying. But, so I'll go to this, which is where I was buried in the first episode of season 3 when we were shooting in Iceland, and I thought I was cool, I was so cool, I was so excited, I love stunts, I love all that stuff. They know that I'm like, damn, I'm game. I'm like, I'll do whatever, it's fun. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get buried, it's gonna be dope, I've never done this before. That's not how it happened.
Oh, I bet it
As
didn't.
soon as they buried all the parts of me first, and I'm gonna try to rip through this story because it'll take forever if I really break it down. But basically, they were like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna bury you into here. We're gonna save your face for last, and then the camera's gonna do a movement. So first of all, everybody's gonna have to climb out of the crater just to get away from you to get out of the frame, and then we're gonna have the camera that's gonna do this movement. So you're probably gonna wait about 10 seconds, and then you'll hear action, and then you can come up out of the. And I was like, oh yeah, got it. Let's do it. And then as soon as the dirt hit my chest, and it was like, boom. I was like, oh, okay, it has some weight to it. Okay, go. And then it was on my face. It was like darkness, and I was like, all right. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I don't think I can breathe. Can I breathe? I don't think I can breathe. Oh, no, I actually can't breathe. No, I can't breathe. I'm gonna pass out. And so I had to burst up out of the hole, like, So we did it 2 more times after that. But they gave me a hole. They gave me a pinhole of light, which is what I asked for. They didn't do dirt anymore. They did just rocks on my face. And they did rocks instead of the dirt, which helped. And they gave me a pinpoint of light. I said, just give me a little light that I can focus on. It'd be great. So it was fine the next 2, but I like to say I'm all tough and everything, but that one got me.
That was buried alive. What? You are tough.
I don't know, I think she's a diva asking for rocks instead of dirt.
Okay. Wow, that was neat.
You guys asking for rocks again. Why does it every time? And then the best was that same episode because when Burnham after Burnham finds out and there's the whole discovery that they're not behind me and I'm here alone in this new future and all that kind of stuff. And the scream, when I find out that we made it to 3188, Tunde Ashensani, our director and executive producer, who's fantastic, he said to me, he said, go. For this take, I just want you to go. We only had like 5 minutes left on this location. Everything was like hairy. And I was like, yeah, I can just, he was like, yeah, let go. Just like let go, totally. And they never tell me that because I'm extra dramatic. So they often have to tell me to and so I was like, really? And that was the first time on the show that I was ever able to just let go. And it ended up being so fulfilling.
Yeah, we all great moment. Yeah.
How was it filming in Iceland other than being buried alive? I think we saw pictures of the location.
Is anybody from Iceland, been to Iceland?
I've been to Iceland.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's amazing. It is New Earth. It's like unbelievable. Yeah, that was such a gift to get to shoot there.
It's so gorgeous, and the ground is so alive, all that geothermal energy, and it's incredible.
They have the youngest land on the planet. It's part of their country.
That's right, because it's always shifting and changing.
Good science fact, thank you. All right, we'll go to the next question.
Hi. So, the last time Michael Dorn and Jonathan Frakes were here, I asked them what their favorite musical was and if they would like to sing a song from it. So I was wondering if anyone would like to do that.
Ha! Ha! Ha ha! They're all looking at him. I might as well zoom on
There's
him.
only us, there's only this. Forget regret, or life is yours to miss. No other road, no other way, no day but today.
Nice. Nice.
You want to talk about?
Yeah, now it's my turn. That was so beautiful. I have to say that 16-year-old inside of me is fucking freaking out. I can't believe I've never asked him to sing that to me before. I thought maybe I could sing the kind of songs that Jonathan Frakes likes to sing on set, because they're all from musicals pre-1940. Just so obscure. So obscure. They're just like, Sullivan! Going to the grocery store! It's the plot of this musical.
Anybody else? Well done. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. That was a lot.
No, thank you. Yeah. I think they just stared at me and I said, they sing on set all the time, they're just being shy.
Yeah.
Sonequa and Mary have Beyonce sing-offs on set.
We can't get those notes, though.
Sonequa sounds exactly like Beyonce too. It's wild.
Which one did we do all of? It was the
Love on
Up
Top.
on top where she changes keys 45 times.
There's one, yeah, and we like to just stare into each other's eyes and try to hit the notes, and it's sonically unbearable.
I don't think you guys have that experience.
Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we
I'll
do.
actually not invite anyone back to DragonCon if it happens. The building might collapse, actually. That's right.
All right. Next question.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has a favorite Star Trek series. And they'll be happy to tell you what and why, and go on ad nauseum further. This isn't that question. But it's similar. Is there
Similar.
one that
Oh,
was
okay.
most influential to you that got you where you are here today?
Any show or a Star Trek series specifically?
Well, either. I guess Star Trek was the question. But
Star Trek would be preferred, yes. There's something that, yeah.
Well, I wasn't a Trekkie or a Trekker when I was growing up, but when I came on board, I was like, I gotta watch everything that there is. And I was playing things while I was sleeping. But what was most influential for me when I was building Burnham was, of course, TOS and Enterprise, because the Vulcan presence is the greatest in those two iterations.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be Vulcan? Or to be trying to be Vulcan?
For me, it's definitely Enterprise. That was both the show that I grew up watching week to week and would see with my friends, so it sort of felt like the first show I wasn't watching in syndication. And then going back and watching all of Jeffrey Combs' Strand, that was sort of how I figured out how to build the character. So definitely Enterprise.
But did they know that you used to be at Star Trek conventions when you were a child?
Yeah, I used to be sitting where you all are sitting.
Cool.
And I would walk up to people and say, my favorite episode is Enterprise 1 DS. And they'd be like, what is wrong with this guy? No, nothing's really changed for me.
I think I grew up mostly with Next Generation. That was like perfectly timed, like on syndication to come on after we got home from school. So I feel like me and my brothers would watch that a lot. And but recently Noah and I have been, we just started watching Deep Space Nine. That feels very much my shit. Like it feels so gay and like so weird, like so fun, and then people just hang out at a bar and like I don't know, it's a very fun one. So I'm very into DS9 right now, is my answer.
Yeah, growing up watching Leonard Nimoy as Spock was unbelievable. But then when I got the part, much like Steve, I had a friend who was like a super fan, and I asked him to kind of curate lists, and so he gave me some great episodes to watch of Next Gen, and I had never really seen it before, and so watching Patrick Stewart and Jonathan and Brent Spiner and doing the quality of work that they were doing was really, really inspiring. To think that maybe we could have something like that as actors, not only to be a part of something so special as Star Trek, but also to get to, really have some material that we could sink our teeth into.
Yeah, like there's something about their performances, specifically on that show, I guess on all of them, and it's like, oh, I have a lot of permission to kind of carve out a new person. There's like a lot of room here, and this universe can hold a lot, so there's a lot of freedom in it, I guess. A lot of space bars.
All right, next one.
I just want to hear you say, what just happened? My actual question is for Anthony Rapp. And for me, being a gay man, Star Trek Discovery had normalized sexuality, like it was every day. And it made me tear up, and I saw that episode, season 1, at least 5-6 times. Not tearing up then. To just see that. I want to know, from your perspective, because I know you consider yourself queer back in 1999, and I know about your spouse and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about the progression of Star Trek, normalizing not just gay and non-binary and all, but with everything?
Thank you for the question. It's been an incredible thing to be a part of. The legacy of that friend that I mentioned earlier, who was a super fan, is gay, and he talked about, like, back in the day, he was doing mimeograph, like, fan letters among the fan community. There was this huge gay presence in the fan community, but they were always, like, hoping for and looking for, some representation or visibility. That's where the slash fiction of Spock Kirk romance started in part because there were so many gay fans who were wanting that representation. So it took too long, frankly. It took 50 years almost for there to be that kind of representation. You know, Jonathan, we keep dropping his name, but it's just, you know. But Frakes said that during Next Gen, the cast was really trying to get them to have some of it in their show. And the network was afraid, and the producers were afraid, and you know, it was a different time then, but it's incredible to be that now. I'm going to share something that was just said to me today at my table out in the Walker Hall of Fame. What is it called? Walk of Fame. So if this person is in the room, thank you for sharing this with me. It was incredibly moving. So he shared with me that his 13-year-old daughter is coming out, and part of the reason that she's feeling the courage to come out is because of seeing my character on Star Trek Discovery, which is incredible. But then he also shared that his parents, so her grandparents, have been Star Trek fans their whole lives. They tend to be sort of conservative in their thinking and religious, but because of Discovery and because of seeing Paul and Hugh, they have opened their hearts up to his daughter in a way that they wouldn't have otherwise. So like that kind of legacy, that kind of actual difference that's being made is incredibly moving and beautiful to know that I'm a part of that. And so I feel like I'm privileged to be a part of that. And the fact that I get to do it with my friend Wilson, I've known Wilson for a long, long time. He's a great human being, a great person, a great advocate. That just feels like a gift. And then to be able to be alongside Lou Del Barrio and Ian Alexander, who are like teaching us so much about courage and authenticity and standing up for themselves in this world that's not always friendly to who they are, and to see the way that they've been embraced has just been amazing. So yeah, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Next question. This is a question from the DragonCon Discord. What differences do you find in acting for different media? Film, TV, theater, etc.?
I've never heard you speak about it. I wouldn't hear you talk about it.
Okay, well, I only have experience on theater and television, really. But I mean, being on Star Trek was my big experiment in finding out what acting meant when it wasn't on a stage. Because that's all my training and all I'd ever done. It's hard. It's not as seamless a transition as you might think, or it wasn't for me. I felt that I had to access different parts of myself. Theater is an energetic and empathetic medium that has to do with a bunch of people being in a room together, and you sort of ride off that energy and that interplay. And in film, you lose that, but what you gain is this silent focus of two people looking into each other's eyes and speaking to each other. So both of them have these really beautiful, unique qualities to them, but they ground your acting in a different place. So the energy you get off theater, I don't think you could ever get on a television set. The way you feel really filled with the spirit. It's a transcendent experience to act on stage. It's a gift. But the intimacy that you get in front of the camera between you and one other person, in front of the camera, is just it would be very hard to achieve that on stage, and then for that to translate to an audience. So that's also very beautiful, and I've been kind of falling in love with it through this process. And then I've had, people to really help me on the way who are more experienced than me, and that's I'm very grateful for that.
That's
So well said.
Yeah, so well said. I mean, that really encapsulates the whole thing right there. The transition was tough for me as well. I mean, goodness, because that's what I was trained in also in all I had known. And then I went straight from, I went to film for just a hot second. And then from there, I went straight to TV after my theater degree. And goodness, I was flip-flopping all over the place. I didn't understand how to streamline it. I didn't understand how to sort of bring in the borders in a way. It's like on stage, which is such a transcendent experience. It's sharing in a way, and the audience is such a huge part of it. You're telling that story with the audience also, but on film, In TV, and especially TV, it's like the authenticity is still there. It has to be. It's still the same craft, but it's like it's a secret or something, as opposed to being shared on the stage, right? But it takes time to figure that out. And I've even found that there's a little bit more room in film than in TV, because I remember a day I was doing Good Wife. I was a recruit on that show for a couple of years, and I had been out of school for maybe a couple of years, and I did something with my face, or I winked, and they were like, can you make that wink smaller? I was like, make my wink smaller. I can't even move my face.
That secret, that's a very good way of putting it. It's the difference between like pouring your heart out to somebody and telling them a very important secret.
You're pouring it out in secret.
But there's an interesting something that we just, when we did the adaptation of Rent on film, because we had a question like, can we do La Vie Boheme on film? How do we do that? Because on stage we were like screaming practically, like dancing our faces off, and like, you know, so full of energy. But the other thing about film is that it is like the camera's like a truth serum. So if we didn't do that full out, then that would be false. So it's not about necessarily always being small. It's just, it has to be true. So if the scene demands you screaming at someone, then you can really scream on film. You have to. It's not like you have to whisper scream. You know, and if you have to, you know, like Robin Williams was amazing on film. He wasn't small necessarily. So it's like, it just has to be authentic to what it is, because otherwise it's got like a red light that flashes almost when you're not authentic. It's like, no, you can't do that.
People can feel it. And the problem is that a lot of directors don't know how to communicate that to actors that are transitioning from theater to film or theater to TV. Because what they'll say to you is be smaller.
Yeah.
And that's not what it is.
Well,
it's not smaller at all.
And also, sorry, now you got us talking about now all we want to do is talk about acting, because it's like us on set basically. But like, yeah, there's like in theater, it's like very against the law to talk about acting from the outside. You always talk about it from the inside in terms of what someone wants, what someone's experience is, but you never talk about how it looks, because there's this idea that it's very hard to explain, but once you become self-conscious of what you look like, you stop being able to do anything authentically, because nothing's happening, you're engineering something. And so when you suddenly end up on a film set and a director is like, your face is moving too much, you're like, you can't say that to me. Well, it was a transition, yeah. I'm sorry.
I just want to ask Noah then, how was it with the
the prosthetics are a particular challenge that I was definitely not prepared for, because especially in the newer style of prosthetics, it's a full mask, so the sort of like small minute movements of your face don't really get picked up in the same way. And I put the mask on and I was like, oh fuck, this is bad. Oh no, what do I do? And basically I just watched what David Ajala did, and then I copied it, and I was like, all right, that seems okay, I'll just do that. But like what Doug Jones does as Saru is unreal. Like, he's so good at communicating all that feeling and emotion when you are not in control of anything really but your eyes and then the rest of your body from the neck down. So it's a really, really crazy challenge, because it feels like you're being swallowed by a sea monster and at the same time supposed to act. But yeah, watching Doug and just trying to copy what other people did made a huge difference.
and how great was it to see Doug outside of it?
Oh yeah. Well, we get to see him like that all the time.
I know.
He's a genius.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, next question.
Star Trek Discovery has so many amazing characters. This is a question for all of you. Who is your favorite Discovery character, and why is it Commander Landry?
Landry is my favorite character because I'm afraid of the actress who plays her sort of sneaking into a convention and murdering me for no reason.
Get up here, Rika!
So how many times did you die on the show? Twice or 3 times? I can't remember.
3 times.
3 times?
Just
Right?
3 times.
Yeah, because I've died twice. Mayor Stanley's has died twice.
Right. I remember.
Never died. I don't know why.
No, I know one of our first days on set, Ray, remember we were talking about the privilege it is to be women of color in sci-fi? Yes. Because sci-fi tends to have the richest, most layered and complex characters for women of color.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
You were like, oh, like the best characters I've ever played have all been in the sci-fi genre. Yeah, I feel like that's been the place where I can exist. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah. No, it's really well said. We've done panels before about women in science fiction and just how important it is and how science fiction gives you the freedom to have representation in a way that seems really obvious. But, that's the great legacy of Star Trek, really, is that they have been doing that for over 55 years. And it's just amazing. Awesome. All right, next question.
My name is Eternal Zan, and my question is for anybody who'd like to answer it. Star Trek is very well known for their script and excellent writing, and I'd like to know if anybody has a favorite line that you've gotten to say or something that you found particularly very challenging. Like I know some of the technical lines can be challenging.
I don't know what you're talking about, the technical lines.
So in the first season, it was Sonequa, Mary, and I it was like 3 or 4 pages where we discussed the tardigrade DNA and the mycelial network, and it was like when I first read it, I was like, how?
Was it not, that was the This Is So Fucking Cool.
Yeah. Where we were figuring out, but it was like 3 or 4 pages, and there were the paragraphs were this long, and how? And then when we did it, it was like it became like jazz.
I was fully shitting myself too because I was so new, and it was like Anthony had a page of text, and then Sonequa had a page of text, and then I had a half page of text at the end of which I dropped the F-bomb. And so as they were going, I'm like, oh fuck. There's so much techno babble. Right. Freaking out as Anthony got through it perfectly, and then Sonequa got through it perfectly, and I was like, the thing is, line.
There are times, we're pretty good overall, but there are times where we do hit the wall. It's like, what?
Yeah, at 4 a.m. especially, you're just like, line, what is that again? Or we're mixing, 2 really odd concepts together because we're just sort of blurry-eyed by the end of the night. But it's very much a muscle, isn't it? Like the more you do it, the more the easier it is, and the more organic it feels. And I was gonna say, I'm curious for both of you actually, Reka, what was the most complicated stuff you had to say?
I think it was just before I killed the tardigrade.
That's right, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like this big emotional moment where I do something that I kind of think Noah is a little bit crazy, but I'll do anything for the local. And yeah, I said some very long words.
You have a lot of, we like to call it affectionately, either space talk, science speak, or technobabble. Those are the 3 terms. Did you?
Well, they knew I'm a very stupid man. They made sure not to give me any of that. I think I didn't say any words longer than 3 or 4 syllables, and I was pretty happy with that.
Oh my god. I've been citing this on my photos this year because I was reminded of this line at Vegas when we were just there a couple weeks ago. It was a scene I did with Sonequa, and I just think it encapsulates Samus, but I think it's also so important for people to remember is never hide who you are. This is a line that I always love.
Thank you for bringing it back to the original question. I'm so sorry. One of the things I love is when I say that being in Starfleet makes us reach for the best in ourselves and in each other. I say that, Mark says that at Arians. much the case. It's very meta. It's exactly what it is, right? And then we also have foreign languages. I say, Mimi, I got to say that. In that language club up episode, you guys remember? That's fabulous. All right, next question.
Hi. Anthony, I wanted to first of all thank you, because you just are an inspiration with everything that you've done. But my point is for Shaniqua. I'm not gonna go into your personal stuff, but I've been through personal stuff as well, and seeing where you are today, it inspires me. It inspires me in a way I can't tell you. And I just want to thank you so much, because it just means, I'm about to cry, it means so much to me. So, thank you.
It means so much to me. Thank you. Wow.
She inspires us every day, I promise you.
Ditto. Thank you. All right, next question.
Also for Shaniqua, not being an actor myself, just seeing you become emotional in almost every episode, how do you just, is there something you have to do to kind of come up with that? Or how do you recover emotionally after having to feel that so often?
Thank you for that question. I feel like we all get emotional quite often. I don't know. For me, it's all imagination, and the script is my my playground, and I don't pull from my own life or anything ever. So it's all just on the page. But the writing is very multi-layered and rich in that way. So it's as long as I just completely suspend my disbelief. Just believe that it's happening to me. It's one of the reasons why I say I instead of she most of the time when I talk about Michael Burnham. It's just how I sort of take ownership of the story. In this story, I am Michael Burnham. But thank you for the compliment within the question. I appreciate that. It definitely is taxing because I try my best to go all in no matter where the camera is pointing. And so, I startle awake at night because my body doesn't know the difference, and I wake up with my eyes swollen shut, all that stuff. But it's a price that, I'm privileged to pay.
I want to say something if I may before that. So I heard a story recently from an actress that I worked with, was on a show, and she was a guest on a show, and she had a scene, one-on-one with what's called the number one on the call sheet, the star of the show. And when they did the scene together, they did his close-up first, and then when they turned the camera around on her, he walked away from the set. And he was prepared to not do the scene with her when it was her close-up. She ran after and got him to do it. That is something that Shaniqua Martin Green would never do in a million years, ever, not ever. So when she's talking about how she tries to go all in every time, she means it, and she does it, and she is there for us in every single way. We are so fortunate that she is the lead of our show. The tone that she sets and the standards that she sets is immeasurable, and it's not common, and it should be common, but it isn't, so just wanted to publicly say that.
Well, you did. I take that.
She's doing fights, she's crying, she's funny, she's nice to everybody, which is insane because,
Insanely nice.
Insanely nice. She treats everyone right. She has 2 children and a husband and a family. She's wonderful too. She really is like Star Trek in this deep way. We don't, she deserves all of your praise and all of your love.
If you pull your coat up, they actually can't see you.
just love y'all so much, and I thank you for that. Thank you. And it really is like, it's them, you guys. It's like everybody is just so full of heart and passion, and absolutely no ego. And everybody is just contributing to this world and making it a better place. Every single person up here and every person in our company. And so it's a collective decision that we all make to try to reach a level of excellence, because the world deserves it and the story deserves it. And I couldn't do anything that they said without them, without it being something we all do together.
I think one of the best things about Star Trek that everyone in this room can relate to is that it's a family. And when it comes across behind the scenes as well as in front of everyone else, I think that means the world to everyone. So thank you for being our family. All right, we're going to try to not cry for the next 15 minutes. So we'll go on to the next question, but thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I thank you all for being here. I want to say to Mary, thank you so much for Tilly. She gave me a lot of inspiration to stand up to a broken family I have, and especially reading the book and getting her backstory was amazing. So thank you so much for bringing that character to life. But sorry, I'm done.
No, it's okay. We can cry for the next 15 minutes. It's fine. We're all comfortable crying. It's fine.
My question is, for those of you who got to be in the Crime universe and the Fury universe, how was it playing both those characters, and which did you enjoy more?
It's hard to articulate how much it means to each of us when we hear stuff like that, but we go through hard times too, you know, and you lift us up. I mean, it means a lot, you know. But short answer, Killy.
These are actually used. I was the first, though. I was the first to play both, yeah? And I got to play with myself. I don't mean in that way. So
Hey.
But I got to do both sides of it, which was cool. But we've always talked about like the mirror self. It's the same person, but with a different, like they're the same soul, but they're just shaped differently because of the world they live in. So it's just a fascinating thing to get to explore that. So like the persnicketyness is probably present in both, but the one has had to like turn into somebody dangerous and awful because if he didn't, he wouldn't survive. So that's kind of the thing. But they're basically the same, although I think with Killy, it's a little different.
No, I love that you said that though also. I feel like you feel the same way. It's a really fun assignment because it, again, we're gonna start talking about acting, but like that's a fun assignment, right? It's the same person, but shaped by entirely different circumstances and experiences. So what does that mean? Like how do Tilly's qualities, how do Berto's qualities articulate themselves in a very dark, draconian society? So it's just like nerd shit. It's so fun.
It's fun. I'm excited to hear what you think too, Rika. But it was my first time playing a psychopath, and that was interesting. It was really interesting because it was fascinating and it was fulfilling and fun. But then it was also really difficult for me too, and being driven by hate and there being a lack of empathy. It's like in theory it's fun, right? But when you actually do it, it's very nasty and ugly and heavy. I would be so exhausted at the end of the day, just like, man, I am so hateful. It's very, you know. So yeah, as fun as it was also, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Also, instead of say during those agonizer scenes where Sneak was literally being like blasted into infinity. She was pregnant at that time.
That's one of those like hard moments on set, because confession, I was pregnant and I had a complication as well. So it was really difficult. And that's another thing that made it difficult. Being a psychopath or a sociopath, I know they're very different things, but it's because I had this beautiful life inside of me, but I was being driven by hate and fear and revenge and all these things. And then those agonizing scenes were really challenging and concerning for me. I had to go into like deep prayer, like, Lord Jesus, please, because I was having to, like clench and go as hard as I could with this complication and this tiny little baby who was, in some danger in my womb. So it was a lot. Real intense, yeah. Real intense. Wake up!
So as you all know, not a big drastic difference.
Are you talking about between me or just yourself and the character?
What I'll say about mine being not so different, and I 100% agree. It's a different set of circumstances that a person is raised in. But Prime Landry was also very tortured, and what I like about it in terms of the metaphor of being able to tell a story is, okay, so we can be that evil right here. We can allow the difficulties that we faced to turn us into monsters, or we can allow them to crack our hearts open wider. And it's up to us to make that choice. We see what happens when we don't. You get eaten by tardigrades.
All right, next question.
Discord. Are there any scenes shot that didn't make it into the final cut but that you wish they had?
It's so hard to remember. That's the thing. After doing 4 seasons now, like.
There's one scene from when I was seeing May, when I had the fungus in my chest, and I was seeing her. That got cut. That was really fun, of like her showing up and not showing up, and that I wish I made it, but.
Yeah.
It's so hard to remember.
It is hard to remember. So in the first episode of season, I keep talking about the first episode of season 3, which is funny, but there was a fight scene, and it was intense. It was an intense fight scene, and of course fight scenes take a long time, right? It's like we make a lot of choreography, and we have rehearsal, and then we shoot, and it takes a really long time to shoot. Lots of fun, some of my favorite stuff. But they cut the whole fight. So the only thing that you see is the very last move. It's in a montage when Berger is talking about where she's been the last year. And that whole thing was an actual fight. We were actually having to contact each other because they were using, what is the frame? What is the one that's almost like bullet time? Is it 8 frames per second? Is that the one it is?
No, it's faster.
Or
They
yeah.
speed it up. They speed up.
So whatever it was, where it's like, really slow.
They ramp it down.
Yeah, so we were doing that in the scene, and so we actually had to make contact so we could see the skin like rippling.
Oh yeah.
So we were honestly like, there was one like punched in his ribs that I actually had to make, but I was so like, oh, you gotta go for it or it doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, big punch in my face, and like, it was amazing. It was such a great fight. And the whole thing got cut.
It's just hard to. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There was one. It wasn't a scene. It was a line. Me and David Jala were supposed to sing a song together at some point called "Na Na Riot," that they never told us how it went, so in my head it sounded like Zoot Suit Riot. So I imagined us singing Zoot Suit Riot, and they cut it because they said, yeah, we thought it was going to be like really upbeat rock, and somebody came in with it, and it was like this really slow ballad. It was really slow, but I still, someday we'll sing Not Riot. Here we go, 5, 6, 7.
All right, we have time for a few more. We have next question?
This is for Mary. I'm a math professor and I yell, "That's the power of math," people quite often at my students. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I love the character of Tilly and would like to hear what your initial thoughts on the character were or how you prepared for the role after you got the initial scripts.
I've known her for 5 years. I don't think I've ever heard her say before.
Even as I was saying it, I was like, this isn't my voice. I'm somebody who, apart from learning lines, which I barely do already, I really try to keep myself pretty fresh for the day, because what I don't want is to like go in with a lot of preconceived ideas and then just kind of go on autopilot and not be able to discover anything. A little more shop talk for those who are still hungry. But I think one thing that really helped me when I first came to Tilly was I was so nervous. I was so nervous, we talked about this recently, that I was sitting next to Anthony at the read-through and he could feel me shaking. I was just so out of my depth. I'd never done anything like a table read before. I was so intimidated. I recognized everybody from TV. And so I think it actually really helped me. That I was so nervous and anxious that I was living Tilly's experience at that point. So I just kind of went with it, and that's what came out, you know.
It was brilliant from moment one. Brilliant.
That comes out in Mary.
Yeah. So no, I didn't do anything. Thank you.
All right, next question?
I swear my question's light and fun, no one's gonna cry at this one. So you all mentioned your favorite shows in the franchise. Can you just rant about some other things you love? Aliens, ships, tech, just anything that you think we as fans should know you love.
I was gonna say when you were asking us our favorite series of Star Trek, that like actually like the series that made me most excited was Battlestar Galactica. I watched it so many times, so when I met Rhaegar, I pooped. But that, I mean, just the brilliance of writing, like how far and how wide they go in telling the story, the scope of it, and the acting is just amazing. Amazing.
I'm a big Mass Effect fan. It seems pretty clear that they were also very inspired by Star Trek. But I had played Mass Effect like 10 years or whatever it was ago, and so then I got to be in Star Trek, so I got to like experience, like my fandom I could kind of transfer into this world, if that makes any sense. I kind of went backwards. So that's it's a similar thing. The storytelling, the characters, the diversity of the species and cultures that they explore, like that kind of stuff is really, really cool. The fact that you get to make choices that matter, all that kind of stuff.
So can't say the Mass Effect is one of your favorite things without talking about your favorite character in Mass Effect, because I'm a huge fan of who's not great about talking about Mass Effect, right?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite, honestly. There's what I think of as moments, and there's spoilery moments, but stuff in 3, the stuff with with the genophage. Is that the word? Genophage. The stuff that stuff. I was like moved to tears by a video game. Which when does that happen? With Morton. So he's probably my favorite character, but
All right, sorry for that. All right, we have time for one more question. No pressure.
Alright, me and my friends, we have a habit.
picking, when we want someone to watch something really well, we always pick one episode and show it to them. And which episode would you pick that represents the entire series the best?
Of our show?
Yes.
I think Magic. Well, it doesn't represent the whole series though, because it's such a weird episode. Magic, yeah, the time loop episode. But I think it's a really good. Our show is more serialized, so the time loop is one of the few that's super standalone in a way. The Magic to make the Saints Man go mad.
That is a hard question.
I think the season 2 finale is also just.
I was just gonna say, maybe the season 2 finale.
So good.
Maybe episode 3 of season 1.
Yeah.
Where we're all introduced, you mean? Like,
Yeah, that is a good one.
Man, thank you for that question. Thank all of you for your questions. You know, your family, we're all one family, so we always love getting to talk to you and connect to you because we are all one in this, you know. But yeah, season 2 finale, maybe the pilot, and maybe the 3rd episode of season 1.
All right, well, on that note, I want to thank all of you for being here, and let's give a big round of applause.
And that will do it for Scorpion Core Discovery.